Here's another amazing story from
That
season 2.
was the first date. She was invited in.
I asked him out. No, what it was I used to get invited to all of these activities, and some of them required that you had a partner. And one of those was you didn't have to have a partner, but there are some that, based on the various protocols, it was best if you go with somebody. And so I called him up and I said to him, Carl, I need a consort. And he's never forgotten that. It's like a consort. Who uses a word like that? Who uses a word like consort? I said, I wasn't trying to ask him out. I didn't want him to think that, there was anything more in the. I needed someone to go to this event with. And he agreed. He laughed, and we still laugh about it.
This is Forever I Do. It's been only 3 years, but what an adventure! The Gordons are next. Carl and Deborah.
Well, we met at the brick oven, as I sometimes like to refer. We met at a patty shop. I was actually there looking for apple pie for my sister, and Deborah came in to buy lunch. Now, I'd seen Deborah before because we sort of worked in the same industry through the advertising agencies and in media. But I hadn't seen her for a while, and of course, I'd seen her on TV. So I was just introducing myself just to remind her who I was and that, we had spoken long time and, what she was doing now. And so that's how I sort of coached the conversation. And I exchanged cards with her. She didn't have a card on her at the time, so she had to go out to her car to get a card, and we exchanged cards. And then I decided whether I'd call her. Yes, you didn't have a card on you. You said they're in the car. And you went to
that was me trying to not give the card. I tell you why. Let me tell you why. Not because of who it was, but based on where I was working at the time, I found that there were people who would approach you who wanted to be able to, kind of get into your space to kind of get amongst the influence. It was a kind of issue where I'm not interested in influence peddling. So I'm like, oh, hi, how are you? Fine, thank you, and there's people trying to get in. And so I was trying to not give the card. But he was, reasonably persistent, not persistent, but he extended the conversation, and I went and I got the card.
Well, after the card, I believe the following week, I called her number, couldn't get through to her. I called. I didn't want to call the number at her workplace. But after calling her cell, not getting through, I decided, okay, well, I'll just call the workplace. I called the workplace, still didn't get through. Called the workplace again, left a message this time, and then waited to see if she would eventually call me back. I was always impressed with her from before, and of course, there is also a physical attraction. And I had known about some of the things she had done. I was really impressed with her. I wanted to meet her. And so that was the reason why I decided to persist, to see, well, at least, can I have a friendship with her, and then let's see if the friendship can develop. So that's where I was thinking, let me see if I can have a friendship with her, and then see what else.
I started at a place of mistrust. And it wasn't about him, it was just in general. And I suppose I wasn't really in a situation where I was looking for a partner. I always knew that if somebody were to come and we were to connect, then that would be fine. So I was also at a point of transition. So I was leaving one very intense kind of job to go into academia, and I was and so my life was changing, and I was slowing down, and so having somebody to go out with and so on. We said, all right, we would start there. So eventually, it was really the conversation. We found that a lot of the things we connected on issues and ideas. We found that we laughed a lot. You know that song Memories. So if it's the laughter we will remember, it will always be the laughter that we'll remember. And because he was persistent, but it wasn't creepy. It was, he was interested. You could see he was interested. There were some things he remembered. I'll never forget a conversation that we were having, and all of a sudden he came out with Deborah Hickling from CNN.
Oh yes, so back in about 1996, I was just watching what was it, JVC TV back then. And so I saw her doing this report, and I saw this is Deborah Hickling for CNN. So I said, CNN. I said, that's impressive, because I didn't know at the time. I wasn't sure about the connection with JVC TV and CNN. And here is a local journalist, doing a stint for CNN. So that stuck with me from back then.
Yeah. So, and that he remembered that. I mean, this is 20 years now. And so it was little things like that. And he was a gentleman, and you could see that there were some of the things about him that were right. And I was, and he was very honest. He was honest about his life. He was honest about the other things that were happening in his life, and because of that, I came to trust him. He wasn't trying to fool me about anything, and you could see it and feel it.
The first official date was a Christmas party. I believe it was the Jamaica Defense Forces officers' Christmas party. And so that was the first date. She was invited in.
I asked him out. No, what it was I used to get invited to all of these activities, and some of them required that you had a partner. And one of those was, you didn't have to have a partner, but there are some that, based on the various protocols, it was best if you go with somebody. And so I called him up and I said to him, Carl, I need a consort. And he's never forgotten that. It's like a consort. Who uses a word like that? Who uses a word like consort? I said, I wasn't trying to ask him out. I didn't want him to think that, there was anything more in the. I needed someone to go to this event with. And he agreed. He laughed, and we still laugh about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was my consort for the first date at the officers' mess, and he was quite a gentleman. I had on the high heel shoes, and it had just rained, and my shoes slipping back. And I remember he put his hand in the small of my back and steadied me for the whole time that we are on this cocktail, on the cocktail grounds. And I thought to myself, that's nice.
And I mean, the fact is, to put it this way, well, my foot is through the door. So, so it's an opportunity to get to know her, and also it's an opportunity to see her, how she, operates in a social setting. So I am really just taking my time, learning, watching. There's no rush. So I welcomed the opportunity, and so I went. It was great. It was very comfortable. I felt at home with her. I felt as if I had known her a little longer than I did. So the occasion was, the word that best described it is comfortable. It was a comfortable experience.
Went to the
Went to the
movies.
movies. Went to the movies.
He likes movies. And I know that he liked movies. And again, I invite him out again. Yeah.
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi. Yeah.
Sci-fi. It was the
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I wanted to go and see the new Star Wars movie. And again, I said to him, you want to go? Because I know that he likes sci-fi. I'm not a sci-fi fan. But he believes in his mind that I use that to try to get him out to the movies. And he uses it to laugh after me as well.
Only because I don't think she has ever watched another sci-fi movie since. So, yeah. Well, it was good because now you start to become more familiar with each other. You're in a more informal setting. So you get to find out how you relate to each other by sitting beside each other and just, being in a relaxed atmosphere. So you get to start feeling more comfortable to ask, the proper questions and the right question, getting to know the personality more, background. So it is now moving to a familiarization of and understanding of the personalities.
I don't know that there was something that moved it. I mean, we just started to talk every day, and then we're around each other more and more, and then we're a part of each other's every day, and then the conversations, continue, and then all of a sudden, we were an item, but didn't kind of realize that we were an item. And then at a point, then we're like, oh, we're an item, okay. And so it just happened naturally, and I think that too for me was important. It wasn't strained, or we weren't pressing for anything to happen. I wasn't putting pressure on him, he wasn't putting pressure on me. We were just spending time, and it kind of worked out naturally. So I think there was a time that I was ill, and I was in the hospital for a couple of days, and he was there every day, and he was a part of that process, and it was still early days. And again, that was something that triggered in my head the fact that he was a loyal and dedicated kind of individual, and somebody you could depend on. To be there at difficult times, and he was there every day, and he was there with my father, and he and my father got on well. That's another thing. That usually there's this question or that, but yeah, he got on really well with my dad, and so it was those things. I think it was natural.
Funnily, I never really felt intimidated, and I tell you why. Because generally, this is how I am. I feel that what people do, and they are good at what they do. But I talk to people where they're at, the person themselves. So I'm not talking to Deborah Hicklin, the assistant to the prime minister. I'm not talking to her job or the kudos. I'm just meeting her as a person, and also with her father. That's how I am. That's how I engage with him as a person. So I was not intimidated by any of that. I related to her as herself and found her to be a wonderful person, found her to be a good person, and that's how our relationship has been. We had been around each other for some time, and so we got to understand each other's idiosyncrasies, good habits, bad habits, and there came a point where you realize that you are in sync with so many things, and that even the things that may grate against you or grate against her are not things that you need to be worried about or you cannot get over. And we found that one of the things that for me made me certain is that we used to have these wonderful conversations. We could have these wonderful conversations for a long time. And we shared many interests in cooking and researching recipes and going out, reading. So there was this whole um, plethora of commonality and common interests and things that we could share and talk about. That for me,
Has
that
an interest in
was
history and archaeology, and the depth of the conversation was important, and and the foolishness too. You could you can share all sorts of foolishness and laugh
yeah, because
and
she
giggle,
laugh at my jokes, so
yeah,
it was
and
very
there's all
important.
these stories and jokes, like, yeah.
The proposal is not a proposal. In other words,
There
we
was
sort
no
of we
proposal.
sort of just discussed it. We sort of just discussed getting married,
He
and
asked my father before he asked me. One day he said we went up. My dad used to have like we used to go up on Sundays, 3 or 4 Sundays a month, and he one at one point he was like, we need to go this Sunday." And then all of a sudden, we're all there, everybody's laughing and family and thing. And, he says to my dad, "I need to have a word with you." And they went out on the patio and they were out there for 10 minutes. And when they came back, dad was beaming and he was fine. And that signed it, to be honest.
well,
I'd love to know too.
it was it was refreshing and remarkably very simple. You know, when we went out on the patio to talk, he seemed to already know why we were going out there. So I told him that, in the traditional way, I'd like to ask him for his daughter's hand in marriage. And we basically had a brief moment about, making sure that life is good for her. And he basically gave me his blessing. And it was very simple and very short.
We had spoken about it, about whether it would happen, when it would happen. We weren't sure whether it was going to be in a year or 6 months. It turned out to be about 6 months from that point.
From that point.
Yeah,
From
so.
that point.
So the truth of the matter is, first of all, I wanted to have a very small wedding. And it didn't end up like that because it started to grow and grow and grow and grow. And then I had a wedding planner, and then I wasn't so happy with the wedding planner. And then my issue has always been logistics, and as a producer, and the running order, and everything have to be moment to moment planned. And my poor wedding planner has never had to deal with somebody like me. I mean, I wanted something so that it was worked out from moment to moment to moment, and everything was sorted. And she couldn't kind of keep up with me, so that was fine. And then there was, so it grew, and then I wanted to have a riverside party. That's what I wanted to do. A small wedding, and then we would all go up to a friend who lives at the river and have a party. And then it was August. And so there was a hurricane slated for that day, and we had to move it to Alhambra Inn. So we had to cancel the Riverside soiree, and everything had to move, and so it was a little upside down. But it was a lovely day, and it was small, and it was it was beautiful. It was a beautiful, and I had gone to Africa earlier in the year. And I bought all of the fabric for what I wanted the ladies to wear. I have an interest in African cosmology, and I wanted them to be female Orisha, wear the colors of the Orisha deities, the Orisha women. And so they wore the Orisha colors, and it was beautiful. So
The planning and all of that was her and her team, and really I bought a suit and I turned up. The most memorable moment was seeing her father walking with her up the aisle, because he had on quite a fabulous outfit as well. And so, but apart from that, just to see the smile on his face, how beaming he was. And I watched the smile on his face and I said, well, he looks like a happy man. And so I am satisfied as well. And she looked happy, and she was happy to have her father carrying up. So that for me is the moment.
He decided he was going to upstage me with his African garb, right? So he had on this fabulous piece that he got from, I think it was Senegal or something, and beautiful, lovely, but it fit in nicely with the rest of the, so, and then for me, it was seeing him at the other end to receive me. That's how I felt, that he was there and that he would be there, and so that was great.
Our marriage has been a wonderful experience. It's exciting. We cook together, we watch movies, we talk about books, we read, we help each other with each other's work. So it has been a fabulous experience. Of course, it has its challenges, like everything in life, and every relationship in life has its challenge. Mother and son, mother and daughter, father and son, friendships between. Every relationship in life has its challenges, but the fact is that once you realize and once you're experiencing more joy, and once you are able to meet your challenges, then that's a good thing.
I'm clear that marriage is a choice that you make, and it's a commitment, and we've had a wonderful period. Like I tell you, it's been a lot of laughter. And the companionship has been very, very important. I was telling someone the other day that it's really funny that, even if I go into the supermarket, I said to come, we're going to the supermarket, you're coming with me? It's like you just want to always be with this person, and it's not forced. And a trip to the supermarket is like going to the opera. Because, it's just having a conversation in the aisles of the supermarket about things that are common to you, that you're going to be using together. So, if the big things and the small things are as wonderful, are wonderful. And so, I can't think of something that I would say is a major challenge that has made me think, rethink the decision I made. Most of all, I know that we are friends. Most of all, I know that we are committed to each other.
Yes.
Most of all, I know that we laugh together, and I think that's really the most important thing. We've been thrown together in COVID, So literally, whereas you would go out to work, or he would go out to work, or he would go and spend days in the country looking for sites and so on. Now we're at home together all the time, and it's been fine. We've been wonderful with each other. He's in his office sometimes. I'm in my little working nook. We come and check with each other. I just find out he's a CNN freak. What's happening with the news? He will come and it's fine. We're good.
Yeah, and so it's teamwork, and once you have teamwork, that's a good thing. And one of the good things about marriage too is that even though you're a team and you're one unit, you still maintain your individualism, and we do that, So with that, we're fine. It's gonna be part of it is gonna be cliche, but communication. You have heard people say it over and over and over. You cannot be afraid to communicate. You have to be able to have trust and communicate with each other. You have to believe in one another. You have to foster that partnership. You have to be able to talk. You have to be able to laugh. You have to be willing to try new things, share your thoughts, and you just have to be willing to be friends.
It's interesting you talk about, and I know there are some women who believe it's never going to happen for me, or I'm not interested in it happening. I think for those people who enter a marriage, having been alone and we got married while we were mature individuals, so it wasn't like we started for many years and so on. I think you have to recognize that you have to give up some of yourself to be able to embrace a union, and some of those ideas that you have about this strong, independent woman, and I can do it on my own, and I don't need a man to make me whole. I don't think it's about making you whole. It's about making a whole something else. So it's a whole other union, and it's different, but it brings something else to that whole. And I think that is important, to make that new whole, and make it special and make it work.
Yeah. So beyond the chemistry and all of that, you really have to choose to love. You have to choose to love your partner, and that is also something I would like to add.
Thank you so much, Carl and Deborah. Here's to many more years of happiness and wedded bliss. On the next episode of Forever I Do,
he would open my eyes to more about who I was. And I mean, deep is not a word I would use to describe myself ever, but he thought
you see, the thing is, other persons see her outward appearance and they form an opinion about who she is. This is just this pretty girl that come on TV. But
pretty ones.
No. They can't say that because you were very bright.
I saw the people that did say.
But when I began to talk to her, I realized that her inner beauty was far exceeding what her outward appearance reflected, and I was drawn to that.
thanks for tuning in. See you next week. Makeup services provided by Nardine Beauty. Coordination and planning, Shakima Hines of Island Brides, Jamaica. Forever I Do is filmed on location at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, your wedding destination in Kingston, Jamaica.